You are listening to the Adapt Performance podcast, where we aim to make elite level strength and conditioning accessible to everybody. I'm your host, Jordan Webster, and let's get into the episode. Yes, guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Adapt Performance podcast. So in today's episode, we're going to be going through a couple of the questions that I got from you guys yesterday when I put out a Q&A box on Instagram. I always enjoy doing these because you get some variety, which is quite nice. And, throughout the episode, you'll get a few different thought processes. And even if the sport that we speak about or the specific question that we speak about doesn't interest you in the short term, stick around, because I do think there are usually good little knowledge bombs and nuggets that go into this along the way. So with this then, what we've got, first question is going to be around, do you have any unpopular or controversial opinions? And this always gets people interested because it's like, ooh, what's he going to drag up? What's he going to say that's going to get him in trouble, get him cancelled? I'll give you a few. They're not truly unpopular or controversial. This is the key. It's a hook. So me saying unpopular opinion and then saying something, most of the time when people say unpopular opinion, they're trying to choose something that's a little bit edgy, but it's not truly unpopular. It's probably actually pretty popular, but it's like you're just pointing fun at the other people. It's like a marketing tactic. I think, again, these are not unpopular. But I think these are the things that need to be reminded upon, to be honest. I think AI, I spoke about this the other day, people are very obsessed with it in the coaching industry, that it's going to kind of take over and change things. It will change things, but I do not think it's going to completely wipe away the industry. I don't think it's going to change roles drastically. People are still going to need a coach that's going to help them get bought into training, give them support along the way, write them interesting, fun programs that they can believe in, that is customized to their lifestyle, their performance goals, and where they want to be. I don't think a machine is going to do that. It might do it for some people. Some people really buy into tech and really enjoy it and really trust it. Those people might be able to, go to ChatGPT and do as good a job as if they had a coach, particularly when you kind of factor in the costing differences. That probably does have a big opportunity to impact a fuckload of people because it is so cheap and free. There's a coach that's probably going to cost a few £100 a month. It does have potential, but I think most people, as we're becoming more tech orientated as a world, are actually going to go the opposite way. I think they're going to cry out for coaches. I think people want people when, we're very much on the other side of a screen all the time. So yeah, I think AI will do bits, but I don't think it'll do everything. I think it'll help with the small, annoying data-y tasks. I think it'll help you with apps and automation and stuff like that. I don't think it replaces the nuts and bolts of what a coach is. Someone that's going to guide you, challenge you, teach you, help you kind of problem solve along the way and get you in mad shape. And this is the thing, people assume that just because you've got AI now, you've now got infinite knowledge. It's like, fucking hell, Google's been around for years and you're still not in the shape that you want to be. So stop blaming a lack of knowledge on your issues, because it's not. The knowledge is there. It's been there for a long time. Your issue is probably more around application. How do I use that knowledge and apply it to my current lifestyle and implementing it and just making sure that it's something that you can be consistent with, something that is robust enough to the challenges that come along with everyday life and missing sessions and people getting ill and little injuries. How do you bounce back from that? Knowledge doesn't alone solve the issues. And that is where a coach comes into it. This comes back to I've listened to a book recently. It's called The Road Less Stupid. Really good. It's kind of about business, about performance, about life, right? Realistically, the principles that it speaks about go to everything. But one of the biggest kind of takeaways from it for me is about asking better questions. And, let's say you came to me, Jord, and said something like, Jord, I keep getting a reoccurring Achilles injury. How do I rehab this? It's like, cool. Okay. That's a good question that focuses on now. How do we rehab this now? Okay. But the greater question, the probably more impactful question is, why are you getting repeated injuries? Okay, well, let's actually solve it, the root cause. Let's strip it back a little bit and get to that point. Why are you getting persistent overload in the Achilles region? Let's solve that. And then obviously let's solve the the actual thing right now. And this happens in physiotherapy as well, is they might use the 80-20 rule, which would be 80% of our like effort is going to be spent on solving the actual root cause of why you've got an injury. It might be a biomechanical thing. It might be that, certain tissues are just not tolerating load well, therefore it's overloading certain parts. And then 20% are going to be spent on relieving the symptoms right now. So 80% solving the actual root cause, and 20% solving the symptoms that you have right now, just to kind of get you bought into it and start seeing some progress along the way. So better questions, okay? It might be same thing. Let's use a weight loss example. Like, how do I keep putting on loads of weight in a secular format? How do I lose this weight? It's like, well, losing this weight is not your issue. We probably need to solve the root cause of why you're getting into this this habit of putting on weight and cycling through it, like this binge eating, starving cycle potentially. So it's better questions is something I think is useful. And S&C coaches and performance coaches generally do this really well, in my opinion. When you do get to a granular level, you go deep on it, you start really thinking about, well, what does it take to win? Like, what are the actual qualities? What are the circumstances? What are the environments we need to create? What are the people we need around us in order to get the solutions? And you see this at the Olympic level, the pro sport level, like having those deeper conversations, I think is really vital. It's around tactics, it's around technique and how we collaborate together. It happens. Other thing, unpopular opinions or controversial, just the phrase priority, I think people use willy-nilly. Like, people say, no, like, my health is a priority, performance is a priority, training is a priority for me. Like, the definition for me is a priority is the thing that is considered to be the most important right now. If something is the most important, you'll get it done. Like, genuinely, you will get it done. Which just means to me that I think a lot of people say something is a priority, but it's actually not. That's then an issue, because I think every time you take a big swing at a goal and then you fail, there's going to be a little bit of scar tissue. There's going to be a little bit of residue of that failure, right? And that is a part of life. I don't think that's always a bad thing. But however, I think if you say it's a priority, but don't actually put the actions and the work ethic into making it a priority, and you fail, you've then just created this environment where I think you just, it's literally impossible for you to win. This is really important to me. You fail. You've now failed at something that you said was really important to you, but you never actually gave yourself an opportunity to win at it. So I honestly think more people just need to be honest with themselves in terms of what their goals are. And I think that would probably, they'd have a lot happier of an existence. Like, if health is not a big priority for you, don't say it is. Still work on it. I'm not saying give up on those things, but don't say it's the number one thing and not make it a number one thing, because you're then going to start to really, like I said, build up some scar tissue, some resistance to it. Every time you fail, you're going to end up in this like rut of, I failed before, so I'm going to fail again. And that's baggage, right? That's trauma we need to try and overcome and challenge and change it. So yeah, priority is something, again, not truly controversial, to be honest. But I do think when you spend so long around people, you pick up, I definitely pick up on things quite a lot. So let's move on to the next question. So let me scroll down. So I got asked about I put up a photo yesterday, which was about tendons. So it was a whiteboard session that I did with Steel Coaching. So Steel Coaching is a gym in Sheffield. It's the best gym in Sheffield. So if you are in this area, you definitely just need to sign up, because having one of my main hobbies being trying gyms and being in different environments, different equipment, like when I find a place that I really enjoy, I really love, like the vibe's good, the equipment's good, and it has the correct balance of like good music, not too busy, not too dead. Like, I love it. So yeah, if you are in Sheffield, go to Steel Coaching. But I do CPD with them once a month at the moment. So basically, CPD, continued professional development, where we basically sit down with their coaching team and we go through specific topics. So yesterday, one of the coaches, Lily, went through the programming for the upcoming block. So she went through her thoughts and everything, and it was awesome. So really good. It's cool just to kind of see how somebody else thinks and how they solve the problem of getting people in shape, But then I did the second hour, which was based on tendons and just giving some thoughts on tendonitis, tendinopathy, how we train tendons, some of the issues, and just some quick takeaway tidbits that people could have that I think is going to be useful. So I think the first initial problem that we have when we think about tendons is people approach it like a cycle, right? So you get a tendon injury. Let's say you got a little bit of jumper's knee. So your patella tendon just below your kneecap is feeling a bit pissed off because I don't know, you went on a run, right? You then decide to rest. Okay, you're going to rest away this injury. What happens when you rest and you're waiting for these symptoms to subside is you're detraining because you're not, providing a stimulus that you can adapt from. You're resting, right? You're going to detrain, so you're going to get weaker, less conditioned. The structures around the patella tendon are going to get less forceful. Then the pain goes. You return back to training, thinking the pain's gone. You're going to get re-injured because you've just detrained. All you've done there is waited for the pain to go, detrained, and now you're going to return back to the same amount that you were doing before. So you're more guaranteed to probably pick up the same, maybe even a worse injury because you are weaker now than what you was before the injury when you were strong. So just think about that. And that is what people do all the time. They get injured, they think, oh, I'll just take some time off. Sick. Now you're a weaker version of what you were. What do we think is going to happen? It happens all the time. We all do it, and this is not to say that time and having a bit of rest and a bit of a deload is a bad thing. It is not. Like sometimes it is well warranted, and when you use it correctly. The thing is, tendons need load. Like if a tendon is pissed off and it is irritated, it is disorganized, which is a word that will be used in the research. It needs load in order to adapt. Okay, it needs to get stronger, and it doesn't get stronger by you just chilling and just putting it on the sidelines, right? So when we think about, just give a quick rundown of tendons. So we've got your bone. Okay, we've got your bone. It's your skeleton. Attached to the bone is the tendon. Okay, it is a very stiff, strong structure. The tendon then merges into the muscle, and then obviously the muscle contracts, pulls on the tendon, pulls on the bone. That is how you end up with movement. Okay. So we kind of need to treat it as a little bit of a unit, to be honest, and it all kind of comes from the head office. Head office is the central nervous system, it's the brain. It is the way that we get the body to move in a way that we want it to do. So the nervous system is controlling that. Okay, the brain does it. This is one of the things that people kind of overlook, to be honest, is the brain's ability to really kind of govern how we deal with pain, okay, and how we deal with improvement. When we look at what different parts of the system adapt to, the central nervous system will adapt a lot quicker. Okay, it adapts really quickly. It might be a couple of weeks where you'll start to spot a decreased inhibition. So it will start to let you have access to muscle groups that it shut down because it feared for its own life, right? So when the brain senses danger, it basically goes into protective mode. And protective mode for the brain is quite often, let's shut down some stuff because I do not trust this man who's just gone on a 10K run out of nowhere. So I'm going to not give him access to his quad as much. Because he's just pissed off his patella tendon, which makes sense. Like, why should it trust us? We've just pissed it off. So the central nervous system adapts first. The muscle then adapts afterwards. Okay, you might be talking 4, 6, 8 weeks, and then tendon 12 weeks and beyond. So that is like your timeline of things. So all that to say, the tendon is stubborn as a bastard, right? It does not want to adapt quickly. Therefore, it just doesn't like change, so you need to gradually do it. Like water cuts through a rock, not because of its intensity, but because of its consistent persistence. Like it's drip, 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 just regular drips, but small throughout. Okay. So that's what we kind of want to be thinking about is it takes time. You've already pissed it off. Like you probably could unload for a little bit, keeping some load through it, and then return back to normal training and it'd be okay. Like the more you keep hammering a tendon, the worse it's going to be. Jake Turer, who is probably one of the leading guys in this area at the moment, puts out a lot of research on his page, which is great. He uses the analogy of like burning toast. So you go on a 10K run, you've pissed off your patella tendon a little bit. You've just burnt the toast a little bit. So you could probably take that toast and just grab a knife and just scrape off the burnt bits, and it wouldn't be too much damage. You could still do it. That would be the equivalent of doing one hard thing, realizing you've just irritated the tendon, doing a bit of load on it just to keep it ticking around, not fully resting and detraining, but just not hammering it, and you'll be fine. However, if we look at more chronic based injuries, let's take a track athlete. Okay, they're probably known for being quite tender in the tendon area because they're so explosive. Like the tendons definitely take a little bit of a hammering if you're an explosive person as well, because they keep hammering it. So if they're a decathlete or something and they've got a career in this, they've probably burnt that toast a million times. And as a result, it is charred. It is deep. So them being able to take a knife and just scrape off the charred bits, nah, this is a deeper issue. So for a lot of us, I've definitely got some stuff that still irritates me now because at one point in my life, I was a bit of a knobhead and just pushed through little bits of pain until it became like genuine issues. However, if I would have been smarter, I could have lived my life pain free, right? So that's something to think about, is like a toast analogy. Moving through then, so kind of mentioned, we don't just want to let the area detrain. We don't want the muscle to turn into an absolute pancake of just like limp and doing nothing. We don't want the tendon to just go soft because we're not putting load through it. So some rules to live by then is essentially, I'm okay with there being a bit of pain when you train. A 3 to 4 out of 10 is the general rule I want you to stick to. Okay. So we can accept a little bit of pain. It's okay as long as we are improving the function of the muscle and of the tendon so that we can begin this training process for the tendon, which is going to take a long period of time. So we need a little bit. It's fine. Okay. 3 or 4 out of 10. If you shoot up to a 7 in a session, you fucked it. You need to wait for the symptoms to die down a little bit, right? And then return back slower. Okay, you just need to take your time with this one, and you will overdo it, right? If you've got tendon issues, I guarantee you will probably do too much at some point, even though you know that it's the wrong thing to do, and then you will have to backtrack. And I don't mind that. I think that is a perfect, like, it is a part of being an athlete, it's a part of being a coach and a trainer, is you will fuck yourself up sometimes. And I don't even mind that because I think it's lessons that we've all got to learn. Like, you just need to feel the pain of your own decisions sometimes. I'm honestly okay with that being the thing. But yeah, basically 3 to 4 out of 10 is what we're looking for. There is also a 24-hour rule. So after a training session, if your pain is worse 24 hours after the session than what it was before, you've probably done too much. Therefore, you need to bring it back a little bit. And essentially, what would be a good way of thinking about this is, if we think about, you've got we've got a graph. Okay. So right at the bottom left of the graph, we've got your start point, and then right at the top right, you've got your goal. Okay. We don't just want to do one massive step to take you up to the goal because that is a huge jump in loading. That is a spike, and tendons don't like that change, right? So what we actually want to do is, instead of doing one big jump, is we want a million small jumps. It won't be a million, but let's say 100 small jumps, progressive little bite-sized chunks that are just challenging it a little bit more than what it was before. And that is how you solve stuff like this. Obviously, if it's a really small tendon thing, it'll be fine. It's going to be done over a shorter timeline. But if it's a long one, we're going to need small little adjustments over time. So the 24-hour rule is basically, if you piss it off 24 hours after and it's angry, well, next time you train, you're going to need to do a little bit less than what you did that time. And you might even have to go one step further than that if you have kind of aggravated it and you then need to rebuild. So it might be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Okay. That might be how you live it for a little while. But essentially what we want to get to is 1 step forward, 1 step forward, 1 step forward. Then you'll get a bit cocky and you'll take 3 steps forward, and then you'll have to take 10 steps back. Human beings are human beings, right? We're all impatient. Like, we love training, we love doing our activities. So when something takes us away from that, we act irrationally. We're not thinking logically at all. It's all emotionally driven, and it's sad as shit. So there's some rules that you can live by: 3 out of 10, or the 24-hour rule. So you're now thinking, well, how do I train? How do I go about picking exercises? Here's a 4-step system, or I guess progression, that you can use. So if a tendon is really annoyed, it might be super angry, and you might not be able to do things like squats. We'll use the example of a patella tendon right now, just because I've been speaking about it a lot. So you might not be able to do squats and lunges and stuff like that, or leg press. So what we need to do is start with isometrics. And this is the 4 steps I'll tell you now, just so you've got it in your mind. So you've got isometric being your first one. You've then got eccentric, concentric movement. is your second one. You've then got store and release, which is your jumping, your plyometrics, your sprinting, and then you've got sport, which is number 4. So going through each of these, what you'll basically see is it basically goes in terms of speed. So it starts off super slow. Isometric is the slowest because it's literally no movement. Eccentric, concentric is faster because it's actually moving. You then go to store and release, which is fast, and then sport is the fastest, but also under chaos, under challenging circumstances. There is like mental fatigue, physical fatigue. It is the end point, right? But there's no point going to sport if you can't do eccentric. So if your patellar tendon's pissed off, then you might do isometrics. It could be a wall sit. It could be holding a single leg extension. And just holding that position. The idea being, there's a few things that kind of unpick this. One, we're trying to train the muscle and get the muscle super strong to bring about its function that the central nervous system is probably shut off because it does not trust us. But we need a strong muscle to be able to support a strong tendon. Okay. If you do not have, like, there's been some kind of whispers around this, like thinking about what your, I said before, there's a unit, right? It is a tendon moving into a muscle. So we need them to be equally, we need them to be 50-50. We need them to be counterparts. Like if you've got a super stiff, reactive, very explosive tendon, you need an incredibly strong, reactive muscle to be able to cope for it. Otherwise, if the tendon is like ragging on that structure and the muscle can't cope with it, you'll get muscle pulls. Yeah. But let's reverse that. If you've got an incredibly strong muscle that can just like pull and pull and pull, but the tendon's piss weak, you're then going to get these tendon issues. So you've got this tug of war going back and forth, and it's on us to kind of figure out how we best elevate both of them equally over time. And it's going to be difficult. Like, there's probably no specific rule set that we go down, but ultimately we're just trying to get everything nice and strong. So first one, isometrics. These are also really good at calming down tendon issues. Okay, they can basically provide a little bit of a painkiller effect if you are struggling with patellar tendon pain. I started singing there. I didn't mean to. I just said it out of rhythm, and I kept going. Yeah. We then got Achilles stuff. Again, just isometrics to begin with, and then it makes the tendon less angry. It's a painkiller. So it might be that you do 3 to 5 sets of 30 to 45 seconds holding that position. And you're essentially just trying to get strong. Like, don't treat it like an easy exercise. Go heavy as you can, right? Providing you do not break the rules of 3 to 4 out of 10 and the 24-hour rule. Cool. So then eventually, you might decide, I'm going to go into moving. Like, ISOs feel good. My pain's reducing. Let's try squatting. Let's squat to a box. Okay, load it up. Do I feel good? Cool. Load up a little bit heavier. Feel good? Cool. Now let's try some full range. See how that goes. You know what? It's feeling great. Sick. Let me try some single leg. Let me go split squats or lunges. Something that, historically might annoy your patellar tendon a little bit more. You know what? It's feeling good. We're cooking now. Okay. So if you feel like you're in this situation where you can handle ISOs really well, you can heavy strength train through a good full range of motion. Perfect. Let's try a little bit of store and release. Let's try a little bit of an activity that's going to load the tendon and the muscle a little bit more. And just give it a go, and just see how you get on and gradually build it up over time. Again, you're going to take some steps forward, some steps back, and you might have to return back to checkpoints that you completed before. Particularly if you are still going to try and play sport alongside all this. Like, you are going to have flare-ups. It's not going to be simple for you because you're probably not going to want to take time off. It's on you. You might do yourself a long-term issue for that decision. Cool. As long as you know the risks. And then the final one is, once you can do store and release and you can jump, you can sprint, you can do a variety of things, you're ready for sport, or at least you're close as ready to sport as we're probably going to get you. You might want to gradually introduce sport. You might not want to go straight into a full 80-minute game of rugby, or you might not want to go into a full basketball game. But the idea is you've at least got the structures there that are ready for a bit of it. And then, you progress from there. So essentially that is tendons. That's what we went through the other day. Let me just take a quick drink. That's what we went through the other day. Okay. So I think it can be pretty simple when you've just got like some guidelines like that to live by. Obviously the exercises and how you progress things, and How you approach that, there is going to be an element of nuance, and not everyone is the same. Some people get pissed off by certain exercises, other people do not. We have a physiotherapist as part of our online service, and he's a wizard, right? Speaking to Joe, our other coach, Ollie, our physio, is an absolute wizard. One of the things he came out with yesterday, because we were speaking about the difference between a foam roller hamstring bridge, so an isometric, or we call them a hamstring reverse plank. So basically like a foam roller hamstring bridge hold, but without having the foam roller there. So you're just digging your heels in. He basically said, look, there is difference between them two. In this scenario, he wanted us to use more of the reverse plank one. So just digging your heels in to get some good hamstring and calf load through there, particularly gastroc load. And this was for a patellar issue. And we basically asked why. And he was like, so we want to get the plantar flexors. Okay. So the ability to like calf raise, get them mostly out of it. So take the foot out of the equation. As a result, we're going to load up the gastroc a lot more. The gastroc is important because it helps you not posteriorly translate the tibia, so the shin bone, as much. If the gastroc doesn't do his job very well and we get a little bit more of that tibial movement, then the quad and potentially the patellar tendon is going to take an absolute battering. Interesting. Fucking hell. I didn't learn that at uni on my accreditation. So there's levels to this, right? That genuinely, and me and Joe both read that and we were like, fair one. All right then, cool. Now we know. But little things like that, I just think are so interesting. I fucking love it. So yeah, there is going to be nuance. Like I don't profess to know everything about tendons, and nobody knows everything about tendons. It's very much an emerging area. But yeah, super interesting. Cool. Right. There's what we actually went through then. Was tendon stuff. Let me take another drink. I couldn't make a coffee for this podcast. The missus is on a meeting downstairs, and the coffee machine is like loud. It's a Sage Barista Express. It's a sexy machine. Looks good, but yeah, you're not doing that at 3 a.m. if you ever have an early start. There's no way. So final question I'm going to go through is what recovery methods are worthwhile when you are in a fight camp? So I take the piss out of recovery methods quite a lot, and it's not because I don't think recovery methods work. I take the piss out of recovery methods because I think people prioritize them, going back to what I said before, over things that I think actually matter the most, right? So when we think about recovery, and let's put these into recovery methods, because I still think this would be the thing. If we reestablished what recovery methods are, if we just like said, guys, from now on, what recovery methods are and what we're talking about is good nutrition, sleep, training load management, and stress management, and all the stuff that we can think about, like massage and cold water immersion and, compression boots and stuff like that. If we put them all into that bucket, I probably wouldn't have as much of an issue with it. But it's the fact that when we think about recovery methods, we bypass the most important stuff, which is what I just kind of mentioned. So let me dig into those. So the most important, just going back to this, right, is good nutrition. So we want high protein intake that's going to allow you to recover adequately between training sessions. If you're in a fight camp, your training volume is going to be high, and it's also, you're in a fight camp, so there is going to be damage to the tissue and stuff like that. So protein is going to help you with that. You want to make sure that you're getting a decent amount of carbohydrates in that as well. I know this is scary to fighters, particularly because it's a weight class sport and you don't want to put on weight. Carbs are not your enemy at all. You just need to properly manage them and make sure you're getting enough at appropriate times to support your performance goals. You want to make sure you're getting a good helping of vegetables and fruits and bits like that, so that you are supporting a good, healthy metabolism and you don't end up with deficiencies and vitamin issues and everything that goes along with just living a beige fooded lifestyle. You then want to think about making sure you get enough sleep. I'm going to go through these. I know you probably heard it a million times, but I'm going to go through it as it is my duty. Sleep, you want to try and get a good helping. That's different for everyone. I think 7 to 8 hours is probably going to be where we pitch most of it. 7 or 8 hours of good quality sleep. Some of the things that made the biggest difference to me as we kind of approach summer is we got an aircon unit from Curry's. It was about 300 quid. It is a game changer. Stops you from just sweating and just being uncomfortable and ruining your sleep. Nothing brings me more pride, actually, of when we're in the heat of, the depth of summer and we've got our aircon on and it's freezing in our room, like it's Baltic, like I'm putting pajama bottoms on. And honestly, you go to the gym, you go to jujitsu, you go wherever, and you can just look around the room and I'm like, you didn't sleep well last night because it was so fucking hot. And I have a little bit of pride there. That's me being a snob on my 300-pound curries thing, which is, I think it's on the way out. We might have to get another one. We've got that about 3 or 4 years ago. So you need to sleep, right? I also take magnesium before bed, which helps. You'll get some mad dreams, which I'm all for, actually. I don't really dream too often unless I take magnesium. So it's, yeah, I'm a big fan. You need a dark room. I use sleep music in the winter. Yeah, in the winter, I just have like Spotify on with a sleep playlist just because we live like nearish a main road and you do get cars driving past and all that type of thing. And that does disrupt you. In the winter, we just use the aircon and that's like, it's like boring noise, which is perfect. Training load management is another important part of recovery. You will not out recovery a shit program. Say shit program, shit schedule, the whole thing, right? If you are fully annihilating yourself, no amount of, laying on a foam roller is going to do the job. So you need to make sure that your training actually makes sense from an S&C standpoint, as well as like a skill standpoint, like making sure all elements of it are singing off the same hymn sheet. Like, does it complement each other? Do you have too many red days in a row? If you don't know what I mean by too many red days in a row, go back to the last podcast and listen to that because that will help a lot. But yeah, you need to make sure that things are appropriate. Like you just randomly doing a few sessions here and there, and going from zero training out of fight camp into a full force fight camp, you're going to come up with issues. So we need like a consistent amount of load going through things. Another recovery thing is stress. Just making sure that your stress is in a good place. Obviously, it's not always easy for people. I think this is one of those where it's what's the phrase I'm thinking of? I can't think of the phrase. Oh, my mind's gone blank. It's the one that people don't speak about enough. And honestly, I feel like psychology is probably the biggest investment you could probably make in yourself, from a performance standpoint, but also a life thing. Like get some therapy for a bit. Like find ways of being more resilient in terms of stress. And I think that will translate very well to most parts of your life. Because if you kind of walk around the earth thinking that the world's out to get you or you can't manage little things that pop up, like there is definitely like physiological, like actual physical changes that happen in the body as a result of your thought patterns. Okay. So like if you sit here right now and you start to think about the scariest thing that's ever happened to you, or some deep, dark trauma, or something crazy exciting like walking out for your first fight or doing a skydive, and you really spend some time to think about that and just sit there and only immerse yourself in that thought and what it was like, your heart rate will go up. You might even get shivers. You might even like start to feel really tired, or the opposite. Like the brain controls everything. And as a result, you can think yourself into being a world champion and sick. I love that for you. Or you can think yourself into being like, to be honest, like really, really sad and down and stressed out all the time. And that will have an impact on your physicality. And that is one of the things people don't speak about in terms of recovery enough. Like you need to be like sound between the ears, or at least working on that so you can manage things better. We don't want lighter loads. We don't want life to treat us any different. We don't want less challenge. We just need you to have better skills to cope with those challenges. So getting into the actual recovery things that people wanted to like hear about then. So some of the options, we've got cold water immersion. Okay. We've got cold water immersion gets spoken about a lot. You get into an ice bath and you spend some time in there. Essentially what this is actually getting to happen in the body is reducing inflammation. Okay, we're trying to reduce inflammation so that you do not end up with the recovery cost of inflammation 1 or 2 days down the line. This has pros and cons. Inflammation is a good thing for some things because inflammation allows you to adapt to that stimulus that you just did, the training session. Inflammation isn't always needed. So if you were in the middle of a rugby weekend where you've got like 10 games, cold water immersion would be a really good thing because you're not bothered about adapting, you're just bothered about performing. So there is going to be times in a fight camp where that might potentially be on the cards. And equally, inflammation doesn't rule everything as far as an athlete, as far as that, because skill work is still good training. Even if we did nothing in fight camp other than hone your skills, like that's probably beneficial, right? So cold water immersion's good. I don't love it. I just think people, instead of spending 300 quid, 200 quid, 100 quid on a cold water tub, I just think go help yourself to a bunch of chicken from the butchers, or get some creatine, or get a better pillow. Like, I just think that would be so much better for you. We then got saunas. This is useful in some ways. Some people really enjoy them. They find it a stress reliever. I think it's the opposite for me, because it stresses me out. I think I've done a lot of like weight cuts and water cuts, either for myself in my younger years or just helping the boys out when they are cutting. It's not a fun environment. It's shit. You're stressed. You're sweating. You're hot. Your head hurts. I don't know. If you enjoy it and it's a stress reliever for you, do it. There is supposed to be some like actual positive benefits as far as like the heat shock proteins, and there is supposed to be some very surface level improvements to like cardiovascular adaptations because of the sauna. Again, I don't think it's all it's cracked up to be yet. Some people love it. You listen to Joe Rogan, he's gonna be like, "It's so good for you, bro. You need to do it all the time." That's on him. I'm not there yet. If you enjoy it, do a bit. We then got something that I think is probably actually useful, is self-myofascial release, massage. Do I think it's going to outweigh all the other things that I spoke about before? No, but I do think it's a little bit of something that you could do that probably has no downsides, that can have some benefits. So we're talking like foam rolling and massage guns and lacrosse ball into the traps and those tight areas. You can basically down-regulate like some of the protective tension and the irritation and knots around those areas. If you use it on your back, your traps, your quads, whatever. I think it's decently useful. It feels nice. Can kind of help to warm up the area potentially. I probably use that the most out of the recovery methods. I don't do loads, but if I'm doing like front squats and my traps feel hammered from jiu-jitsu, then that's what I'm going to go for. So I think that would be my option, as well as just making sure you master the others. You're a fighter, right? So it's good nutrition, it's sleep, it's training load management, making sure that you make good training decisions. You've got things written down on a piece of paper and you stick to it. It makes sense. It's logical. And then just managing the stress side of things. Cool. Guys, so it's been emotional. It's been great. Here are your 3 questions. So I spoke a little bit about, unpopular, controversial opinions. They weren't, but or a little bit around, knowledge doesn't solve your issues, application and implementation does. A little bit about asking better questions, and then priorities. We then got into tendons and gave you some kind of frameworks there, as well as kind of some recovery methods stuff that you can kind of dig into. So there it is. If you've got any questions, feel free to shoot me those over on Instagram. If you enjoyed the episode, share it with somebody who you think would also enjoy it. It's always cool to spread the good word. I'm going to get some bracelets made, I think. Instead of what would Jesus do, is what would Jordan do? And that's going to be my gift to you, is some WWJW wristies. Right then, cool. Speak to you soon, guys. Have a good day. Okay, that is the end of today's episode, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, please do let us know, and then share it with somebody who may find this episode interesting. Okay, see you next time. Cheers.